Well, good morning, everybody. It's another day, and I hope the sun is shining where you're at. It is bright today at our place. Matter of fact, I was just laughing because I was trying to I have a window like off to this side of me. It's like I could not get the blinds to like diminish the sun. It was like reflecting off of the screen and it was bad. So maybe the sun is shining. It's great. I love the sun, but man, it was causing some fits this morning. So hopefully everybody had a good day yesterday. Before I even get started on the stream, let me just tell you about my day. Hey, good morning, Bobby. Glad you're here, my friend. Man, I'm curious, man. Let me know, like, where you're at in the whole process of onboarding. I'm kind of curious. I know, like, when you just first get in, it can be a lot. So just what's your overall thoughts, man? You liking it so far? So yesterday, I was gone for a while and I kind of got back to work and was beginning to work on things and trying to get organized. But then there was all this other stuff going on as well that was like crazy. So just to give you an idea, so yesterday, outside of just work, we do summer cross country training for our athletes and stuff. So my son graduated, but my daughter is still running and so we had that practice. Well, I have to drive to get to that practice, about an hour away. It's not too bad, but I have to drive there and everything. So we had that last night. So we had to get on the road early to then get over there. So rushing to get work all done. And then we get up there and then we brought two of my daughter's friends home with us to spend the night because this morning we had to wake up really early to get them all out the door and my wife and my entire family to go to an amusement park with the church today. And they're doing that whole thing today. So I had to wake up early to kind of get them out the door. So it's been a whirlwind. And then on top of that, I stayed up stinking late. And I'll tell you why. I stayed up late because this darn World Cup soccer thing. It's like, I talked about this yesterday. I've never really ever watched soccer until like now. And like, I'm finding myself getting into it big time. And then last night, I got really into it. I got really into it. By the time I got home, I was watching Argentina. And Argentina, if you do not know, Lionel Messi, which is one of to be honest, after last night, man, like right now, he is the GOAT. Greatest of all time right now. Like, I don't know if like other people played better. As far as what I know about soccer, last night was so stinking impressive. I mean, just put this in perspective. This guy is 38 years old. He won the World Cup last time through, Argentina. They won that. And now he's setting even more records now. It's kind of wild. He got a hat trick last night, which was the first hat trick that he's ever done. He's also tied for the most goals in any World Cup. So he's tied for that. He's also tied for the most goals scored. So he's tied with, I can't remember his name, but like 16 goals ever scored in the World Cup. So he's tied for that record. So it's the first game Argentina played. So he's absolutely going to bust that record out. So he's going to probably score 20, 30, who knows how many points. But last night, man, this guy is insane. Anybody else watch him? I mean, like he doesn't just kick it close to the goal. No, he kicks it pretty far out and then kicks it straight in. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's crazy good. So I stayed up late watching that. And by the time I was cheering on Messi, my adrenaline was going so much that I couldn't sleep. So... And then when I finally got to sleep, it was like time to wake up. It's just wild. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Oh, okay. Hey, yeah, Bobby. So let's see here. Bobby said it's good getting familiar with software, downloading apps, did goal setting yesterday and meeting. Oh, perfect, dude. I love that. I love that you're getting familiar with like the goal setting and that kind of stuff. That's really, really good. I like the goal setting idea of stuff. And to be honest, and maybe your coach will do this. I hope they do. If not, it's not a big deal. But I like taking like my goals, breaking them down into micro initiatives. And it's more like, how many contacts I need to have per day. But then what I end up doing is I take my average selling price, break that all out, and I begin to figure out like what each cost that is. I'll pull this up one time for you, Bobby, in one of my live streams that basically it's like putting a dollar amount to every call that I make is like the goal. Because if I can understand like what I'm earning every single time I pick up the phone and make a call, or every time I go out and show a house, and I put a dollar amount to that, I feel like I'm earning that money. And then the math does average out that way. I don't know if I make any sense. This is something I need to go through, and I'll break this all down for you. But I love attaching a dollar amount to everything that I do. That's what I love doing, because we work to make money. That's what we do. But that's really good. And he says, my coach that I will be working with tomorrow. Okay, good. So that's great, man. Yeah, lean into him heavy. Lean into him heavy. They're worth everything. It's good to have coaches and help and mentor. Man, be a sponge, man. Welcome to the industry. But anyway, yeah, that was my day yesterday. Soccer. Oh my gosh. And actually, I'll say this one more thing, and I'll move on from soccer. Sorry, or football. It depends on where you're watching. Yeah, Bobby. I'll honestly, yeah, I'm gonna make a note. Goal setting. It's a little late in the year for when I usually would cover goal setting, but honestly, 6 months in, it makes sense. Goal setting. I'm gonna do it. I'll make that a live stream. We're gonna do a goal setting session. Talking through kind of my logic behind that, and then you can marry that with your own. But let me tell you one more thing about soccer, and I'll move on to the actual show. I tell you what, I've actually more enjoyed than just watching something else, just watching soccer, is my youngest daughter. She's 10 years old, and she is loving soccer. So I was at she loved watching the World Cup with me. So I was at cross country practice, and the game actually started while I was still there getting ready to leave. Well, my daughter that's 10, we have like a system where she can like text, but she doesn't have a phone. She just can text myself and her siblings and her mom, so she can communicate that way. So she sent me a post or a little text thing, and she just kind of said like soccer, and she's like watching Argentina, and she was giving me like play by play as I was coaching. So it was really kind of just a cool moment to have my 10-year-old daughter like excited about soccer and I wasn't even home and she had the game on the screen, so it's just so funny. But anyway, all right, enough about that. Let me tell you what we're gonna be talking about today. Guess what we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about private listings. We're not going to talk about any of that. We're not going to talk about like Google and Zillow. Let me know if you're excited not to hear me rant anymore about that today. I can't promise that won't happen at the next live stream I do, though, because it's all over the news. I just intentionally avoided that today, to be honest. I was like, I'm so done. I'm so done talking about it. So what we will be covering today is we're going to be talking about, there was an article by Inman that says White House tech chief tells agents to take advantage of AI. Okay, so that is kind of like the beginning of this topic. We'll talk about that. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's like Michael Pratsios said at NER's 2026 legislative meetings that agents who delay AI adoption risk getting left behind. So we're going to kind of go through that, just kind of talk about AI a little bit. Then I'm going to, still along the AI topic, CNBC actually had an article that kind of goes right along with AI that we're talking about, because it says how AI may be messing with home prices. And we're just going to kind of read through this article and kind of get a perspective from like how AI has actually messed up some real estate deals. It's kind of interesting. Then we will go into talking about the market just a little bit. This is Yahoo Finance, wrote an article by Michelle Lerner, E. Napolitano, and Hal Bundrick co-wrote this article. It says, is the housing market going to crash in 2026? Here's your outlook. Now, headlines, gripping, right? Oh, they capture you and you think something's going to happen here. Jump to the case, or jump to the end here. It's all fine. If you want to know, the sky's not falling, we're all good. And we're going to talk about the housing market a little bit and what that looks like and what some of these people are saying and their comments outside of our industry. And then I'll wrap that up with a nice little bow from our chief economist with the National Association of Realtor, Dr. Lawrence Yoon. And he says home sales expected to improve in second half of 2026. So it'll be a good piggyback off of that. So we're going to really talk about more about the housing market today. And I've not done that in a few weeks. It's all been all this Google and everything else. So today we're going to really hone in on just talking about the economy and what that might look like. And then if we have time, this goes right along with the whole kind of concept. And I don't think we're going to get to this article because this would be article number 5. And you guys know how I roll. Like there's no way we're going to get there. I've already been going for 15 minutes and I've done nothing. So let's just put it into perspective. All right. New home construction down, but buyers aren't looking away. That would be the final one if we get to that. But again, we won't. We won't. All right. With all that being said, let me just set the groundwork real quick, and then we'll get started. I love chat. I love comments. I love questions. I love engagement. So feel free to do that as much as possible. I will literally stop what I am saying. If I catch your comment in the chat, I will stop. I will address it. I will talk. I will answer it. I would rather value you and your time and your comment than any of these articles. So if there is something you want to ask me, if there is a comment you want to make, just know that I value you. Leave it in the comments. I will stop my entire conversation once I see it. Now, I could go on a rant and maybe miss it, but once I see it, I will stop. So just know that. I love that kind of engagement. So let's go ahead. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Real Estate Brief. I'm Adam. Today we're going to be cutting through the noise. We're going to get to the truth in the news. We're going to look at the data, and I'm going to give you some of my observations and where I believe that you can find opportunity. So if you're ready to gain your real estate edge, let's dive into our very first story of today. And this is going to be specifically talking about AI. The next two articles we're going to be talking about is AI. What is going on with AI? What does the future look like, right? All these speculations, it's so hot in the news. Everywhere you go, AI's doing this. AI's going to replace us. AI's going to do this. I mean, it's just like you can't escape AI. There's so many things in life we can't escape, and AI is one of them. We're going to continue hearing about it. We're going to continue trying to figure out how to use it. It's just going to be in our everyday conversations, I think. And in a lot of ways, it's really cool. I mean, there's a lot of things that's just really neat about it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. There's things that it streamlines and helps me with, and there's also things that I find myself just redundantly wasting my time with, which I'll show you one of those things right now, how AI can just waste your time. This is a bunny trail, but like this is exactly a perfect example of how it can also waste your time. So there's kind of an inside joke here, but I'll show it just for fun and kicks and giggles. Look, Squirt, the real citrus rush. That's me drinking this soda drink called Squirt. You know, obviously that's an AI generated thing, right? So this is fun, but this could be a time waster for AI. There's a whole story behind this. When we were over in France, there was a drink called Schweppes, and it was like lemon, grapefruit, that kind of stuff. And one of the guys on our team kept saying, like, it's like Squirt, and we would like laugh. So when we got back, he bought us a bunch of Squirt. So I took my image of myself enjoying my Squirt and text that to the group like, hey, look, I'm enjoying my Squirt. So anyway, fun use of AI, but also a little bit of a time waster. All right, anyway, that's a buddy trail. Let's go ahead and get started on this first article here. Can you guys tell I'm actually like in a really good mood today? Like I'm tired, but I'm in a good mood. I'm feeling happy about life right now. Life's busy, but I'm enjoying life. All right, let's get started. All right, so this is our very first article here. It is by Inman. Let's see. This is Jesse Healy who wrote this article. It says, White House tech chief tells agents to take advantage of AI. Michael Pratsios said at NAR's 2026 legislative meetings that agents who delay AI adoption risk getting left behind. I think there's an element of truth to that, right? There is a lot of things that AI streamlines. I gave you an example of one that's a time waster, but let's be honest, there's a lot of things that AI being embedded into technology is helping. I mean, if you think about cleaning up documentation, if you think about grammatical corrections, if you think about typing up emails, redundant emails you send all the time, if this, then that type of stuff, this is where AI excels the greatest, right? But I think a lot of times as humans, we try to use technology to make our jobs so easy that we can, in hopes that we can avoid all the things that make us uncomfortable. And then we end up losing. So, but anyway. It says there was only standing room left by the time the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy Director Michael Kratsios began to speak. But he had a clear message for real estate agents and brokers. Start using AI now. Now, just FYI, right now, the National Association of Realtors legislative meetings in Washington, D.C. are taking place. So there's going to be a lot of articles and stuff kind of coming out talking about what they're talking about at that level. So just know that's what's going on. That's why this article is talking the way it is. And that's why this Kratsios guy is there. It says Kratsios' comments came during the Regulatory Issues Forum, AI Innovation, Real Estate and Regulation, a candid discussion about AI regulation at the National Association of Realtors 2026 legislative meetings in Washington, D.C. The forum took place Monday and highlighted how important AI and regulation are to realtors. Now, this is where I would say we definitely need regulation. AI is overreaching. It's doing all kinds of crazy things. It needs some guardrails. We definitely need some guardrails here, because if we don't put some kind of guardrails in place, I will tell you it will be used for nefarious purposes. And there's already kind of articles. I was reading a whole article on another news site talking about Claude, and they had a new model being used for hackers, and it was exploited. Matter of fact, Amazon, being a big investor in Claude, actually is the one that found the vulnerabilities inside of the AI model. And now they're beginning to kind of, they took it down, they're remodeling it, trying to fix the problem, because hackers were able to use it to break into very, complex systems. So this is why people that make AI need guardrails. This is why you need regulation. This is part of that. It's not that the company itself is nefarious. It's just you create a product and it goes masses, and then people use it for nefarious purposes. This is just the human nature. It's the plight of man. We love evil. It's a sad thing, but give people enough time and pride will take over. All right. It says Kretsios, who serves as President Trump's chief science and technology advisor, told the crowd at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center that AI tools capable of automating back office work, good use, streamlining client communications, 50-50 on that one, and sharpening market knowledge, good use, are already available, and that agents who would delay adoption risk falling behind in what he called a K-shaped economy, splitting businesses into two camps, those growing dramatically and those flattening out. There are different terminology in economics, and when you hear like any kind of like K-shaped, Y-shaped, any kind of things like that, just a little brief educational moment here, is it's always referring to like a graph, right? It's like, this is the graph, and like a typical graph, like when things are going well, it's going up the ladder and increasing. Well, what they're arguing here is there's a K-shape, right? So you have this benchmark that kind of goes right down the center of that economical line. The top is going to be like success. The bottom will be non-successful, right? So the K would be, your straight line is the beginning of the K, straight down, and then you have the diverging factors. This benchmark in the middle would be like what you would consider AI. Those that are using AI is going to go up. Those that avoid it and do not use it is going to go down. That's the K, right? That's when you see terminology like that. That's what they're meaning. It's always referring kind of to a graph. Not always, but most of the time that's what it's referring to. So hopefully that brings some clarity about what K-shape means. And that's why they said splitting businesses into two camps, those growing and those that are not. So that's what's going to happen. There's no better time in history to be a small business owner than today, Kretsios told the crowd. There is no more powerful tool that has ever been created in the history of the world that a small business can use and wield for its own benefit. There's a lot of truth to that. I would say we have not seen anything like this since the beginning of the internet, when almost all information was available to you. That was a massive turning point, right? Most of you guys out there probably remember when that came about. I do. I mean, I remember when the internet first came out, and the whole idea of being able to chat with people. I mean, you remember ICQ Messenger and Messenger apps and all this kind of stuff. You were communicating in chat rooms, and I mean, then you could go online and search for anything, and the ability to get information just became so easy and so tangible. That was a great advancement. Had a lot of problems, caused a lot of problems. A lot of people use it for nefarious reasons then too, right? So here we are again with a major shift, a major technology advancement in our lifetime. The K-shaped economy, Kretsios pointed to data from financial technology company Ramp as evidence of a widening gap between AI adopters and those sitting on the sidelines. Because Ramp processes corporate card transactions, he said, the company can track which businesses are spending on AI tools and what happens to the revenue as a result. Now, they're using AI for this, guys. See, this data that we're generating every time we buy something, every time we interact with a website, it's data that AI can then take and use and create models from. And so everything we do on our phones everywhere is being monitored and tracked. It just is. And AI is using that to create these type of reports. And that's why we can get even better insight into the way people behave. And what they're going to argue for is that, look, by seeing what people are paying for, like companies paying for AI, they can look at that and then they can see the profit margins in that company and their websites and what they look like outside. They take all that stuff, all that information within seconds, and generate a report from that. Say, wow, yeah, this company is growing, and it's because their credit cards are buying a lot of AI products. so they can tie it all together. It's very fascinating and creepy at the same time. They have seen an actual dramatic increase in the revenue numbers in those companies, Kratsios said of AI adopting businesses. And the companies that aren't purchasing AI or aren't sort of adopting it, you're seeing essentially stagnant growth. These are data metrics that don't lie. If this is true, then they're not wrong, right? He said ramp economists have grown concerned about the trend, describing it as a K-shaped economy in which a subset of businesses grow at above average rates while everyone else flatlines. Okay, 1,800 laws and no clear framework. We're going to jump on down here. It says the optimism from Kratsios gave way to a more cautious tone when the conversation shifted to the panel discussing on the regulatory landscape. This makes perfect sense to me. It's like we can easily watch all this AI. Like if you go on YouTube right now and you type in like AI advancement, you're going to have all these YouTubers, influencers just talking how excited they are about this. And look, I get it. There is a lot of amazing things going on within AI. It's like, yeah, wow, this is crazy stuff. Wow, this is amazing. All these type of things are going on. But man, when you shift that conversation to like, where do we end here? Where does this ultimately go? Like, what's the consequences for AI? If this is left unchecked, what does that look like? That conversation completely changes the entire narrative that's being pushed out there over the excitement because it's a reality. Like, what's going to happen here? It says, during the discussion, Thayer and Hall painted a picture of a fragmented, fast-moving policy environment that poses real compliance risk for agents and brokers. Thayer, who has tracked technology policy for 35 years, told the crowd the scale of AI legislative activity alone is staggering. We have in the United States today, according to one leading AI tracking service, 1,800 legislative measures. That's a huge number. He said the surge represents a major reversal from the 1990s when a bipartisan federal approach to internet policy helped birth the digital economy. So that's going back to that initial big change, right? Today, he said, Congress has largely become a non-actor on tech policy, leaving states to fill the void in inconsistent and sometimes contradictory ways. That's insanity. Thayer said of the patchwork approach, that's not a well-functioning, orderly marketplace for 2026. Who is responsible when AI goes wrong? This is a valid question. What happens if AI causes someone physical harm, financial harm? Who's responsible for that? This is given advice that people are acting upon. Where's the consequences rest on that? That's a very good question. It's a moral question. It's a human question. It's a real question. Hall, whose organization focuses on civil rights and technology, zeroed in on a concern more immediate for agents. When AI tools produce a bad outcome in a real estate transaction, it is not yet clear who bears responsibility. Who does that fall to? The problem with artificial intelligence is that it obfuscates how decisions are made. It obfuscates responsibility. Who is ultimately responsible when things go wrong? This is a valid question. How do you regulate this, right? He noted that agents are already legally responsible for fair housing compliance, accurate disclosures, and client due diligence. Obligations that do not pause because an AI tool was involved in the process. It says, you are on the front lines, Hall told the crowd. And right now, you are being told, and to be fair, I think not wrongfully, use these tools. They will make you more efficient. But there's a layer of testing and responsibility for these tools that is missing. And this is where the internal training, like right now, since there are no guardrails, this is where a broker, if you are leading agents, you have got to stay informed in the tools that they're using and how they're doing it. At this point, to protect your own agents and agents yourself, being self-responsible is absolutely key to this industry because you are self-employed basically. But as brokers especially, are you having trainings in your office talking about the legalities of using AI and just putting in prompts and then running with those prompts, putting in and asking a question and then running with the advice? You know, I've run into this a couple of times in my own company where agents are going to Gemini or Claude or, ChatGPT and asking it what they should be asking their broker. And then they're acting upon that and we're getting into trouble because of it. And that's a risky thing. So we need to be educating everybody. Like, look, there are some major pitfalls. Do not fall into the trap that everything that is generated by AI, because it has endless access to information, is correct. The next article we'll discuss is going to show you why that's risky, okay? Drones, data, and what's coming next. Kretsios also previewed a regulatory change with direct implications for real estate professionals during his fireside chat. New federal rules governing beyond visual line of sight drone operations. Okay? In other words, outside of my sight, can I fly a drone? Which would allow agents to send a drone to map a property without being physically present. That's currently illegal without an exception from the FAA, adding that final rules are expected soon. Because technology is advancing, right? Drones are getting better and mapping's getting better. So are we revisiting this? And what does this look like? On data ownership, Kretsios said that the administration's position is that creators should control how their content is used to train AI models. See, that's another thing, is AI models have access to all of your information. When I create this video, AI, Gemini, and everybody else is mapping out all the words that I say. Well, under fair use and under, copyright law, my words are my own. But yet AI can use me however it wants to generate prompts and replies. Do I get a say in how it's used, right? If you are a creator, if you create something, you should have control over that asset, right? We should. That's the whole point, right? If you want to give consent to someone to use it, they should be able to use it. If you don't want to consent, they should not. Thayer closed his panel comments with a warning about what he sees as the next major pressure point for the industry: litigation. This is a warning, guys. Right now, it's all great. It's all, woo, AI is amazing. Let's use it. There's advancement here. It's great. But as the pressure comes in and more people start using it, and once AI starts affecting the money that people make, litigation's going to follow. Litigation's going to follow. The floodgates are now open on litigation, he said, cautioning that trial lawyers have taken notice of the murky liability landscape around AI. Without federal safe harbor provisions, he said, even minor AI-related mistakes could expose brokerages and agents to legal action. Hall closed by urging the crowd not to wait for regulatory clarity before establishing internal AI policies, warning that the alternative is worse. If you have not yet established an AI policy for your company, you already have one, Hall said, paraphrasing a McKinsey finding. You just don't know about it. Now, this is alarming because we don't have regulation. How do we develop a policy? Well, we need to. We need to think through the liability of this. And as brokers, when you have an office policy manual, you need to have verbiage in there that is cautioning and explaining the risk attached to AI and doing whatever the prompt says and not seeking advice from you that has all the experience in your local market, that knows the nuances of the law, that understands what it is like to get a lawsuit levied against you and to arbitrate that all the way out or to litigate it. Agents and brokers need to be informed. They need to have policy in place to protect the agent. This is a legal minefield that is just brewing. It's just brewing. And it's going to brew up because the moment it starts affecting people's money, the moment AI starts going and taking jobs away from people that are doing certain things with their own creative work, we're going to have a problem here. We're going to have a problem. So, what does a problem look like? How could AI cause a problem? And this is why I found this article, because after I was kind of skimming through this one, the one we just went over, I was like, man, what's a case? Where's a use case where AI has caused a true problem? And this is what I found. This is an article. This is CNBC. How AI may be messing with home prices. Now, this is one case. Dominio, good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. This is how AI may be messing with home prices. This is the key points of this article here. Let me just say this. This is written by Diana Olick on CNBC. Key points. Says celebrity real estate CEO Ryan Serhant, which if you've not seen this, Ryan Serhant has a show, multi-million dollar properties he lists. It's unbelievable. He grew his massive company. Serhant said ChatGPT almost blew up a $50 million deal. For most real estate professionals, the data aggregation capabilities of AI can enhance their expertise. Okay, so there's a use case. But experts warn artificial intelligence can't match the anecdotal knowledge of a human real estate agent and might not be inclined to offer hard-to-hear advice. Okay? So this is where AI could even cause potential confusion to a buyer and a seller and even be manipulated by an agent. A home is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. We've all heard this, right? I've heard this many times. When you start talking about appraisal value and how do you value homes and all that kind of stuff, right? It's always what someone's willing to pay for it. I could put a house on the market for, let's say, $500,000, and every data metric could tell me it should be priced at $450,000, and I could possibly, not likely, but I could possibly sell it for $500,000. And guess what? If I sell it for $500,000, that home has now been valued at $500,000 because there was a buyer that was willing to pay that for it. That's the way it works. A home is worth what someone is willing to pay for it. Okay, that's how you truly know what value is. Everything else is an analysis of that amount, which is why we call them comparative market analysis. I'm going to use the data to analyze it and give it an opinion. But ultimately, it's what someone's willing to pay for it. That is probably the only dependable truth when it comes to putting a price tag on a property. Enter artificial intelligence. It says, as with everything on the planet, AI is disrupting real estate. In March, celebrity real estate CEO Ryan Serhant of his namesake company posted a video on Instagram titled, ChatGPT just blew up my $50 million deal. In the post, he explained how he had brokered a deal on the property. But at the last minute, the seller uses ChatGPT and asks it this simple prompt: should I sell at this price? And maybe because of how he asked whatnot, ChatGPT basically told him, no, you should not sell it at that price. It's worth more. Then he said the buyer did the same thing, asking the AI tool from OpenAI if he was overpaying. And ChatGPT told him that, yes, he was paying too much. Right? So again, it's the same argument that we would do to assess the value of a home, right? When we go back to the initial statement, a home is worth what somebody's willing to pay, right? So they both were willing to sell and pay that. So the value was set. But AI, using data metrics, had two opposing opinions. Now we got a problem. Where's the nuances at? How do we figure this out? This is a perfect example why you can't trust just data alone. There are other metrics, and he's going to get into that. It gave him comparables that showed why, without context, without any context to those prices, right? Without actually understanding the property. Doesn't know that property at all. Doesn't know anything about the seller disclosure. Doesn't know anything about that property whatsoever, other than what the data metrics say. Has the data. Serhan's post has more than 3 million views. He was able to salvage the deal. He said in his subsequent post, by explaining to both the buyer and seller the following about AI. Now, this is where I love this. And this is something as agents, pay attention, because people are using AI more and more and more. And we have got to be able to develop scripts to be able to push back against this whole idea that AI is going to fix and solve all the problems. Matter of fact, there's a few episodes ago that I talked about how this guy claimed that AI, used AI to sell his home. He didn't need a realtor, all this kind of stuff. And then it come to find out he actually had a realtor that he paid for. I mean, anyway, it's just kind of funny. But two things to notice is, one, we got to be able to have a defense and a response to people saying that we're not relevant. But this also validates that we are relevant. So those are the two things you'll see out of this. Now, here's what Serhant says. And this is something I want you to think about whenever you hear AI. It doesn't know the future. Okay? It can't predict the future. It doesn't know intentions. Doesn't know emotions. It doesn't know what buyers are circling. It doesn't know off-market comparables. Remember, off-market comparables, it doesn't know those. It doesn't understand fully replacement costs. Doesn't know that. And doesn't actually optimize for the deal. AI can model a market. It can't model a deal. Now, there is a lot to unpack in just what he said there, but he's 100% correct. And if we took our time, we could go through this. Intentions. Does the AI model understand that let's use a scenario that the buyer that is buying this home is located in an area where it's close to the schools, where they work, what their lifestyle they're looking for? Does it know the intention of that buyer and why they're buying that house? No. So it's going to give advice based upon the data and the data alone. And if it talks them out of that deal, the buyer could easily go out and buy a house that maybe is cheaper, but is farther located away from all the amenities, thereby driving up their cost for commuting and time and everything else. It doesn't know the intentions and the nuances of that deal. It doesn't know it. It doesn't know the emotions. It does not know that when the mom and the husband and the kids and the grandmas or the single people or whoever it might be walks into that home and looks at that home and says, man, that corner, the way that's set up and the way the living room and the kitchen flow together, I have this furniture and it fits in this room perfectly. I don't have to do any kind of remodeling. I don't have to paint. I don't have to do any of this. I'm ready to go. It doesn't know those things. It doesn't know. It never will know those things. So it just doesn't know all the information to make an educated opinion on those situations. So he is right. This is where AI falls short. And this is where AI costs people money. This is where the problem rests. Can it help with ideas on data and do CMAs like we would do? Well, probably, but it's not going to know the nuances. Surratt has said he does believe AI is a critical tool for real estate agents and even launched his own AI-powered workflow automation platform and operating system called S.Imple, which is simple, which he talked about recently on the Property Play podcast. And he's not alone. We all talk about it. We all like it, whatever. One of the most important things that agents can see that ChatGPT or any other AI tool is not going to know is what's up and coming. So neighborhoods that are up and coming, design features that are up and coming. Anecdotal data that agents are aggregating through their conversations, that is something that no AI tool is ever going to be able to aggregate in the same way that a real estate professional can. A real estate professional knows what's going on in their market. Like if they're talking to a developer that's not even broken ground yet, there's no data on that. They're having a cold conversation with somebody local, and maybe that builder is needing someone to buy a home in a certain area that's not even on the market yet. Or maybe they have a lot that needs to be built a house so they can start a development. Realtors will know those type of things. That's one example, but there's many other ones, right? AI guidance from consumers need to be connected to real context, real data, real ability to take action. Said Nicholas Stevens, Vice President of Product and AI at Zillow. Then that AI guidance needs to be deeply connected to what a real estate agent is attempting to do. That's the difference between what we're doing at Zillow versus a third-party generic experience. I think he's selling his AI model there. Anyway, you get the idea, guys. I think this is a good contrasting thing. It's a minor one that could cost money, but you get the idea. It's like, this is the argument. This is what we got to understand, what AI is, what it does, and what it can't do. We have to be able to articulate our value and communicate that to our consumer. When we get pushback on they're using AI, you don't really need you, that kind of stuff. It can't do what we just talked about. And then there are consequences if all you do is rely on AI. There's consequences for agents if all they do is rely on AI. There's consequences for the consumer if all they do is rely on AI. You'll never replace that human interaction that has knowledge and emotions and understanding and foresight and all those type of things in a market. You can't replace that. AI does not have access to your mind. It doesn't have it. Maybe yet. Maybe we'll have some kind of devices mounted on our heads, and then we really got a big problem, guys. All right. Now, let's switch gears for the next 15 minutes here. We're going to talk about the real estate market. We're going to talk and see and kind of go through what that might look like and what the news and media is saying, and then we'll wrap this up. By the way, I am drinking. It is a coffee company from Turkey, and it has got like a blue raspberry wine taste to it, and man, it's really good. I mean, it's like you can taste blueberry. Sorry, bunny trail, but it's good. All right. All right. Sorry. Been a lot of bunny trails lately. All right, let's jump into this article here by Yahoo Finance. It says, is the housing market going to crash in 2026? Here's your outlook. Okay. Here's your outlook. Now, where will this go, right? National media, right? Let's see. I think it's going to be fine, though. I really do. I read Yahoo Finance a lot. and they seem to be pretty balanced. There's a couple of riders, though. I'm like, yeah, you kind of side on one side or the other. All right, a housing market crash happens. So we're going to define what a housing market crash is. When home values plummet due to a lack of demand for an oversupply of homes. Okay, well, we can answer that question really quick. Do we see that? Do you guys see that in your market? Right now, we just talked about this. It's an inflation month over month of 4.4% nationwide. Now, locally, it could be different, but right now we're sitting at 4.4%. So plummeting? No. Okay. The factors leading to a housing market crash are varied. They range from economic recessions to high mortgage rates that make it less affordable to buy a home. There's an element there. Okay. There is an element. Affordability is pretty high, but people are still buying. A housing crash can have upsides, low home prices, and downsides, losing built-up equity and tighter finances. So what's ahead for the housing market in 2026? What's it look like? It says, is the housing market going to crash soon? Generally, experts don't foresee a housing market crash in 2026. Whew. I feel safe now. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, I would agree. There's not really any indications in the market. I mean, you don't have to have an expert to see this, guys. I mean, expert opinions and that kind of stuff, they're great, but let me just encourage you how to do it yourself. You have access to MLS data. You can go into your own system. You can look at absorption rate. You can look at days on the market. You can look at the value of homes. You can price that over between now and this time last year. You can quickly do an assessment on what is going on with those numbers and determine quickly what the market looks like if the economy is heading towards a crash. It's not really that big in rocket science. It's actually pretty easy because we are an industry that keeps really good records and we can track everything. The other big metric, to be honest, and this is what I've seen every single time a recession has come, a major recession, not like a little recession we kind of went through with COVID and after COVID. I'm talking about when the market actually used the term crash happens, is you see an influx of foreclosures. You see an influx of bank-owned and reload properties. That is a massive indicator. When that number is going up, that's kind of the first red flag, like, ooh, something's going on here, right? So again, but experts are great. I mean, they go into the nuances of it and they kind of keep us on point. It says this, we're not heading toward a housing crash. We're in a market correction defined by stability, not volatility. Hobby Hanna, CEO of Howard Hanna Real Estate Services, said via email. Agreed. I would 100% agree with this. We've been saying this over and over again. I said this last time we went over the economy, what that looks like. It's a stabling of the market. It's like we had this crazy inflation going on, and now we're just stabilizing. It's like it's resetting and kind of figuring itself out a little bit. And that's why the Fed and everybody else is keeping the interest rates where they are. It's like we don't want this crazy emotion drive back into our economy and in our industry. We want something to kind of level out and ride this out for a little while. It says today's housing environment is fundamentally different from 2008. 2008 being the big final crash, right? If you guys were in this industry, I was in it, and it was rough. Homeowners have record levels of equity. True. Lending standards are sound. Yes. There's not proprietary lending going on. It's really tight. You can't get away with much. And inventory remains constrained. What we're seeing now is a normalization, not a collapse, as the market adjusts to new economic realities. For buyers and sellers, this is a market filled with opportunity and resilience, not instability or uncertainty. It doesn't mean that it's not difficult. It doesn't mean that there's like contrition some places. There's a lot of contracting going on in the market, but that's part of what, stabilization and normalization looks like. That you have to have that tension in the market to kind of get things to kind of reset and kind of be more grounded. But that's not abnormal. This is very typical. And then you go on to the next category they talk about is what about jobs data? It could be difficult to consider early 2026 as a market filled with opportunity when the economy lost 966,000 job openings last year. According to the February job openings and labor turnover survey, which they call JOLTS, the number of job openings were mostly static while layoffs were unchanged. Here's the good news. The monthly ADP, which is the National Employment Report, beat expectations, with the private sector adding 62,000 jobs in March 2026, with pay up 4.5% year over year. So this is that affordability gap. Yeah, there's a disparaging issue going on with the job market. You have lost a lot of jobs, but the private sector of jobs have actually increased. So that means your locally small-owned businesses are growing. And then on top of that, the income has went up 4.5% year over year. So their income has actually went up with that, while inflation has slowed. So that gap between affordability and income is closing in just a little bit. It's not there yet, but it has closed a little bit. That's a sign of a balancing taking place. Overall, hiring is steady. We'll keep on going. Home prices continue to slowly rise. Okay, so this is again a good metric. Are home prices slumping? No. But they are also not experiencing the rapid growth seen in early 2025. U.S. annual home price growth increased by only 0.9% in January. That's down from the yearly price expansion reported in December of 1.3. All right, we are in a period of low sales and price growth that mirrors the disconnect between incomes and home prices seen during 20th century recessions. Okay, you guys get it, right? We can go on and on about this. Housing market crashes, supply and demand dynamics. We don't read this. If you guys want to go and read more of these articles, you can go to my YouTube channel. Every single article that I cover is in the show notes in the description of that YouTube video of this live stream. Consider going over there and checking me out. Let me just do this. For those that are interested, and I don't know if this works on TikTok or not. It's the real estate advantage. Okay. This is the channel right here. Check it out. You guys, please consider subscribing to me if you're finding anything of value here. I don't know. Guys, I'm not the greatest on TikTok as far as knowing how everything works. I don't know how to share, and they probably don't want me to. I don't know how to share like links and stuff, guys. But in my profile on TikTok, there's like a link tree link there, and you can find all the information to then follow me and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Consider doing that. But if you really want to just be able to go in here and see the show notes and stuff like that, it's all in here, and you can read through these articles and get a little bit of deeper dive, and then leave a comment on what you thought, or if you have a question about something. I love that. That would be awesome. I'd love to engage with you guys. That'd be great. So anyway, this goes into more and more details about what's going on. Signs of a housing market crash. Basically in a nutshell, that's not what we're seeing. Okay. We're not seeing that's where we're heading. That's not what's going on here. All right. And just to put a little bow on this before we close out, I got a couple more minutes before I got to jump off. This is the final article we'll get to today. I've done 4 articles out of 5. It's not bad. This might be a record. What we're going to talk about now, I just want to kind of give a nice little bow on this by Dr. Lawrence Yun. He is the NAR chief economist, and what he has to say about a market crash. Let me just say this. This guy has been doing real estate economics for the National Association of Realtors since I have been licensed, and I've been licensed over 20 years. This guy has been reporting on real estate. He predicted the crash. He predicted recessions. This guy is in the data on real estate. This guy knows it. As a matter of fact, like a few years ago, I had him on the show once, and we talked back and forth. And then it's really cool is I can actually reach out to him, and he always texts back and reply. I mean, I don't know how he does it. I feel like he's probably super busy, but he always makes time to communicate. So pretty awesome. I have a lot of respect for him. I really do. So Dr. Lawrence Yun, if you're watching, thank you for what you do, man. You do a great job. It says Yun projects homeowners will gain $16,000 in housing wealth this year and predicts the national median home price will reach $1 million within 25 years. Okay. Home sales are expected to be modestly better in the second half of 2026, provided that inventory and housing supply continue to expand. There's always a little caveat, right? It's like I can make all the predictions in the world, but something could derail it. But right now, what are we looking at? Pretty good forecast. NER's current forecast calls for existing home sales to rise 4% this year. Okay, so we're looking at that sale market to increase, with the median home price also climbing 4%. Mortgage rates are projected to average 6.5%. We're not going to change much there, guys. It's just not. There's not enough movement in the market for the Fed or anybody to really adjust those rates. There's just not. It's too close, too tight. Let's let this stabilize a little bit longer. Yun added that housing wealth accumulation will continue in 2026, with the typical homeowner gaining approximately $16,000 in wealth this year. He quotes, "Homeowners will continue to build wealth while renters are simply spinning their wheels." Yeah. They need renters, man. Like, Go buy a house if you can. Go try. Go attempt to buy a house. Don't pay for someone else's mortgage and equity. Pay for your own. Yoon also offered a long-term projection, running multiple scenarios to estimate when the national median home price, currently sitting at $430,000, would reach $1 million. Okay, so right now we're sitting at $430,000. What would that projection look like when we actually reach $1 million for the median price, right? He said each scenario that he ran pointed to roughly the same answer, about 25 years. Okay, so for about 25 years from now, it's going to $1 million. So here's the thing, guys. Okay, why is this significant? Well, most people get how long of a loan? 30 years. Just do the math. If somebody was to buy a house now for the average price of $430,000 and live in that home until it's paid off, look at their equity when they retire. Right? Look how much money they're sitting on. And not only that, that's just if they do nothing to the property, that they just live in it. But what would happen if they change it, add to it, modify it, add more amenities, whatever it might be? Think about this, guys. That's a major increase in value. What could you invest in right now that provides a house for your family, equity, and everything? What could you spend your money on but a home, right? That's something as real estate agents we should be talking about with renters and everybody else. To illustrate the power of long-term appreciation, you noted that the national median home price was just $90,000 in 1990. Even San Francisco, considered super expensive at the time, had a median price of only $250,000. What would have happened if 1990, those that are older, bought a house in 1990 in San Francisco for $250,000? You'd be sitting on over a few $1 million in your pocket right now. Unbelievable. Let's see. Yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. That's a lot, guys. We covered a lot of ground today. Hopefully you guys got something of value today. I enjoy you guys being here and taking your time out of your busy schedules to sit here and listen to me talk about this. My goal is that you get something of value out of it. I want to be able to deliver some value to you guys. I do appreciate everybody for tuning in and watching. Just thank you. And just so you guys know, I will be traveling the rest of this week to some of my offices, so I will not be in my home office to be able to do live streaming. There's a possibility I might do one Friday. I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to have time. So with that being said, I'll be back here Monday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time where you're watching me. So we'll pick up whatever the news is going on then. Bobby, have a great day. Appreciate the insight on the market today. You bet, Bobby. Man, I'm rooting for you, my friend. Let's go. Get in there and work hard, buddy. Enjoy it. Feel free to reach out anytime, man. But thank you guys. Do greatly appreciate that. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be successful. Work hard. And just, keep being awesome. All right. That is your real estate brief for today. If you found this helpful, please consider hitting the like button to tell YouTube you like more of this type of content. Consider subscribing and follow me on TikTok to join a community of real estate agents that are focused on building a business that is relationship focused first. There is a lot more I could have went over, and I'm out of time. And I'm also too busy the rest of this week to do so. So we'll see you Monday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time where you're watching me now. Guys, take care. Greatly appreciate you. Much love.